Rod Belcher and Mike Fitzsimmons. Bill Muncey would not have been maybe the great personality that he was had it not been for the fact he was a great driver.
This man could drive race boats.
And all the other drivers knew it.
That's exactly right. Here's some examples. Talk about it, gentlemen.
Wrote the book on it, didn't he, Rod?
Oh, boy. And you know, he had his own style. He didn't always agree with everybody's other style of driving, but he still respected them, and they sure respected him.
Watch Mr. Muncey on the upper side of your screen there. He's the guy that's running second right now, but not for long.
Look at this.
He went dead in the water and came back to overtake the Madison in this particular race, and this is what you call painting buoys. Bill was good for that. Wasn't much of a second story man, but boy, could he paint water-level buoys.
He saved ground, as they say in the, you know,
in the old Sportsway days, he used to be able to corner so beautifully, and they'd say the Atlas would always want to fade out on the corners, but it would always turn so nice, too. It was a gorgeous driving job that Bill would do most of the time.
I think many of us who did the broadcast, we would bet where Muncey would be at the beginning of a heat. Would he be way outside, inside? Where would he come from?
Typically in the concessions tent before a race, the drivers bet the same sort of thing.
Here's a good example again.
Muncey, you never knew where Muncey was coming from. He would try the outside, he would try the inside. The Atlas, fortunately, would start anywhere. The big rooster tail is Bill. Now, he won't stay there, though. Everybody thinks he's going to. Now, watch. All of a sudden, Mr. Muncey will cut back to the inside of the course, and he always seemed to be right on time. Watch, he'll come flashing across right on the money every time. And with that kind of speed and that kind of 25-year history of a driver that had learned it all and did it right always.
They all tried to hit that start like he could. Not too many of them did it that often.
Many of them have their formulas, like Chenoweth always stays inside in the Budweiser, but that was the thing about Bill. He was unpredictable. You never knew where he would come from.
Start from the outside and take lane number 1 away from them all.
I remember Chip Hanauer being very concerned about that. He says, I know where Dean is, but I never know exactly where Bill is. I always have to look out for him. Munceyisms, that's something all of us started a term because of Bill, how he has made the sport colorful.
He was an inventor. He was an original. He invented a lot of the language of hydroplane racing. And, you know, it wasn't something he copied. He invented these things, for instance.
Hey, it's a lovely day in Seattle. There's 8 million people here. King's coverage is going to be the best they've had in years and years, and the Atlas van line's going to run like a bandit all day long.
Absolutely. He said it all.
Hasn't he, though? He has for years. And the truth is that you just damn drive by the seat of your pants when you're in a cab over. Coming down the front chute, I'm already committed, and I know what I'm going to do, and I've made up my mind, and by then I'm flying. Not everybody, I suppose, is familiar with what it takes to keep an unlimited hydroplane running, but you don't blow it out of your backyard garage. When it's out of attitude, I'm able to delicately move my hoof off the throttle just very carefully and get the boat back into attitude without having to lose a lot of boat speed. Of course, this is our forklift, which we absolutely have to reach all this equipment that we have in storage. Ours is one of the fastest forklifts in town. I think it can blow the Budweiser's doors off. Of course, they got a little extra horsepower with theirs.
We can't do it without people like Bill Muncey either in the cockpit or up here next to me.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed doing it with you. And I'm sorry I couldn't be more competitive today because the Atlas van Lloyd is a super sled to drive. I really enjoy it very much. It's exciting for me.
This gives us a short chance to chat a little bit about the Bill Muncey all of us remember, a very close friend and a compatriot and a fellow professional. Dick, what do you remember?
Well, 2 years ago on Seattle Tonight, he jumped in with a band, the Barney Armstrong Machine, and played the saxophone. He was a well-rounded guy. He drove the fast cars. He had the clean runabout, the clean uniform, always a clean uniform, and the dirty boots. Always the same dirty boots.
That's right.
Great sense of humor. Respected. In viewing back the other shows that we've done this morning, he had ultimate respect for everybody else, and he was up on top of things. He was looking for Boeing to come up with some sort of a capsule the next time around, and they all admired and respected him too. So it was that mutual kind of thing. Great for the sport.
Rod, he worked with you as far as your first broadcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's go back to 1960. You're all too young to remember. But, here I was, my first television sports job, really, with this station, and I had about 4 days to prepare for what was in the Apple Cup race at Lake Chelan. And, boy, I didn't know anything about the hydroplane racing business, and I'd never met Bill Muncey, but I went to his home. He gave me a crash course that was something else in about 3 days, and it was tough to assimilate because he knew it all. It was obvious to me, but he sure put me in good shape for at least trying to do that first race right.
Sounded like an expert. Elaine, what about you?
Well, one of the things that I was remembering last night when I was thinking about Bill was that when I first met his wife, Fran, and did an interview for one of our telecasts, she seemed very shy and very quiet, and he seemed very proud of her. And a couple years later, he said, you've got to do a story on Fran this year because she's selling souvenirs. And I went up and interviewed her, and she was so much more independent. She was talking about some weeks she made more money than Bill had because he'd had a tough year. And he was bragging to me later about that, saying, you know, all right. And their relationship had changed, and he felt just as warmly about her in both cases. It was fun. He just grew so much with so many relationships, professional and personal.
Exactly. Mike, what about you? You were the expert of the broadcast team.
Bill was a family man. He raised 2 families in his 25-year career, and perhaps one of the most important things to him in his last years was Edward Muncey, his young son, who had to be at the dock when he came back, and so many, many touching pictures of Bill Muncey at the end of a victorious day, triumphant day, even a sad day, was to have Edward at the end of the dock for him. It was very important to him. And his cowboy hat and those old boots lasted 25 years. They really did. Those were important for Bill to have that and chocolate ice cream.
Chocolate ice cream, exactly right. I can remember talking with him, and he was getting ready to shoot some promos with us in his uniform, his white, crisp overalls, and he had tennis shoes on. And Dick Warzinski, our director, who has done the hydroplane races for many years now, looked over at Bill and said, Bill, where are the boots? He says, oh, I forgot them. I'm not driving today anyway. So, but he didn't worry about it when he was not in the boat. But if he ever had to get in the boat, those boots were always going to be there.
You remember Older's Better? Older's Better in 1979, and Reynolds said that faster is, or younger is faster.
So, you know, Bill alluded to the fact, you know, everybody hates me in Seattle. Well, there was a bit of truth in that. People, Bill's manner turned some people off. And yet, and he could be surly after a race when he lost because he liked to win. God, he was a heck of a competitor. But he never held a grudge. A day later, he was through with it and looking ahead. He didn't look back.
Elaine knows about that.
Well, yeah, I used to chase him around with a microphone. But, you know, the interesting thing is he touched people. Whether people loved him or at times hated him, he touched people. He had an effect on them. And I know when the word got out that he had been in that accident, I know how many phone calls we got here at King 5 last night, and he touched a lot of lives, and most of us are better off for that.
He touched us.
Exactly. Unity right now, because we all will miss him. And we'd like to leave you with some memories of a man named Bill Muncey.
Oh, I think, hey, you know, having been in this so darn long, I should have learned something by now. Tactically, I think that I've always paid a great deal of attention to the sport, and I've been a student of the sport, and I still am a student, and I'm still learning. And I think it's helped me a lot. I think that having driven as long as I have, many of the moves that I make, that when I'm out of attitude, or, I mean, getting a little looser than I should, I don't think that, you know, I'm not a giant intellect. I'm an average guy, smart-wise, although I may be a little more racing smart than some people because I've been there so long. But the truth is that most of those moves, those corrections you make to get yourself back into attitude, come as a result of conditioned reflexes and having done it so darn many times. And boy, let me tell you, do I make them work.
I'd like to feel maybe people remember me as a good, strong competitor and a guy who was willing to pay the price to enjoy whatever success I've had, and, you know, to kick as much back into the sport as I've been able to take from it. And I think that's about it.